Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on weekend. I will do my best to share as much information as possible with you today. And so I will start sharing my screen so we can get right to it. So if I do this. I will just share my desktop with you so that everybody can see. Okay. And let me just... So today the topic is 5 things experts don't tell you about essential oils. It's quite a bold topic, I understand. It's the reason I named that way is because I had so much trouble getting to some of this information. It took me so many years to get to where I am, and I'm still going. So so the topics are these ones I would like to address. So 5 things experts don't tell you about essential oils. So first I will address the top 3 myths about essential oil quality that you need to steer clear from. So these are just some things that I noticed that people in my lectures or in my class have trouble with. And it's very simple to demystify this. And then we will move on and look at why science and tradition don't match and does it really matter. And this is truly a passion of mine. This is something I also try to do with Dropsmith, to bring together tradition and science, and actually practical work and science in essential oils. And we will address that as well. A skill every aromatherapist should have, and why. So I think you should have it, so I'm going to share it with you. And why you should stop choosing your essential oils the old-fashioned way. Why aromatherapy is moving forward so quickly. I really feel I like to share everything I know and learned and created for you. And at the end, I will then conclude what I would have done differently if I could start my aromatherapy journey over. It's been a wonderful journey, but also I feel that there are many things I could have done differently. So I hope that will save you some time in your work. We will have the lecture, and then after it, we will also have a chance to hear some of your comments or questions. And I urge you to write your comments during the presentation, because probably you'll forget by the end, because I will try and address as many topics as possible. So I might be jumping from one thing to another. And yeah, so let's get to it. The topic is top 3 myths about essential oil quality that you need to steer clear from. And again, it's a very bold, title that I chose for it, but it's something that at most of my lectures, I have at least 1 or 10 people coming up to me and asking, what's the best essential oil? What is the best brand to buy? So I would like to address some of the things I noticed that keep repeating. And when I do this, I always like to start by the definition. So what is an essential oil? And it's funny when you ask somebody who is doing aromatherapy for so long, that when you ask them what is essential oil, they sometimes don't know what to answer. And the answers are very different from person to person. And of course, essential oils, we all have our own opinion about it and our own experience with it, and that brings some value to it. But I think what we really should know is the classical definition, the one that exists. And here it is. I put the link at the bottom for you to check it out if you want to. It's the ISO standard, and it says that essential oil is a product obtained from a natural raw material and plant origin. And this might seem very straightforward, but it is actually quite a good piece of information. So bear with me. This has a point. So also this product is obtained by steam distillation, by mechanical process from the epicrop of citrus fruits, which means cold pressed, or by dry distillation after separating the aqueous phase which means the essential oil for a hydrolyte or hydrosol, wherever you are in the world, by physical process. So this is also quite important because a lot of people say something like they're using jasmine essential oil, which I am guessing is wrong because jasmine is absolute and it is a different kind of extract. And that is important. And I will show you later why that is important to know which extract we are talking about because the molecules are very different. And also that affects then the properties. And I left here at the bottom, the essential oil can undergo physical treatments which do not result in any significant change in its composition. This includes filtration, decantation, centrifugation. So these are the methods that are used for separating the essential oil from the water, for example. So I really like to show this definition to my students because it clears up what essential oil is. It's where we start. So we do need to know what that is. And then from there, whatever your experience is, it just kind of brings more to your understanding. So let me first show you here what I mean by importance between different extracts. And I will go to Dropsmith and show you. Here I compared essential oil, rose essential oil, and rose absolute. So you will see right here that their composition is wildly different. So essential oil, rose essential oil has a lot of monotropic alcohols, whereas rose has aromatic alcohol. It has much bigger molecules that cannot come in that quantity or at all in the essential oil. So it has a very different quality to it. It has a very different smell to it. And it's up to you to choose which one is then the one that you need. But it is connected to the process. So it's very important that we know if we're talking about an essential oil or a different extract because it affects the chemistry as well. And here I prepared for you a beautiful picture. So we go through the steam distillation, and I'm sure many of you have already seen this or similar slide, or luckily I hope you had a chance to go and see distillation in live or distilling. But I found that when I go through this with my students, some aha moment happens because we all know about this process, but we don't pay attention to it and then understand the little bits of information that we get if we really pay attention to it. So let's start from the beginning. And this does have a point to it, I promise, about the quality of the essential oil. So bear with me. So first, when I chose steam distillation because this is the most common way of obtaining essential oils. And I had the luxury of meeting a lot of distillers, big, small companies, and I distill myself. So I had quite some interaction with this process. And when we talk about quality, actually it starts from the plant. So I will not even address the importance of quality of the land, of was it a big farm or little, was it wild picked, was it ecological or it wasn't. So it starts even before this process, the quality of your essential oils. And then let's say that we are already here and we're distilling, and steam distillation means that it's separated. If you see here on the left, the water is separated and the heat is brought up, and that steam goes through our plant material that is separated in a different container. So this is where the magic starts to happen. So the steam goes through the plant material, and this is the point where I ask usually my students that I love to have live, and I ask you to just take a second and think about it. What kind of molecules need to happen here to come from this container here where the plant material is to the separation part? So did you think about it? What kind of molecules are they? They need to be volatile, they need to be small, and then when they come out, you will notice that they are lipophilic. So just by knowing those three things and keeping that in mind, it tells you a lot about your essential oils. If they're small, that's probably, and lipophilic, probably they will penetrate your skin quite quickly. If they, if they evaporate, that means that they will evaporate when you use them as well. So you already have some ideas of what these components are just by understanding the process. Isn't that wonderful? And another point I'd like to make here is I see a lot of confusion happening that we're copy pasting, that just because chamomile works as a plant this way, the oil does as well. There is a lot that happens in the process. So first of all, not all molecules go through the whole process. There's a whole bunch of big molecules and other things that stay in this first container and don't go through the condenser and then finally to the essential oil. So that also affects on how we're going to use this. And here I prepared a little, if you see, it's a chamomile. It's blue chamomile and blue because of camosulate. And that is another thing that happens. So, and it doesn't happen, it's not in the original chamomile, blue chamomile. It is in, it happens in the process of distillation. So it's good that we understand that the plant material is not the same as what comes out for many reasons. And the chemical structure within essential oil can be wildly different. We can have completely new chemical components in there. So I'm sure you all, or a lot of you knew this, but once we go through it all, it makes a little bit more sense. It's easier to understand. It's like we all know this, but sometimes don't pay attention to details. So next is the condenser. And the condenser, the classical one looks like this one here, which is the pipes are rounded, but actually have many different types of condensers. And something that people don't often know is that this is one of your key moments in distillation is the condenser, because this is where you can control the warmth of the water and the process of cooling. So if it's cools faster or slower, that then affects your essential oil or hydrolat. If you're going to have more of the certain chemical components in the aqueous phase or in the essential oil itself. And this is something I didn't know for a long time, so I hope this is a good piece of information for you too, that the condenser is actually a really good tool to play with. So if you're distilling at home, this is something to try with more cold water or more warm water, and then you'll see how that affects your final product. So coming back to quality, do you see what affects the quality? It's the land, the plant, the heat, the pressure. How long is this process actually taking place? Because the bigger molecules will come later on. And if you don't take the process long enough, then you will not have those molecules. So for example, if you have the same plant material and the exactly same still, but you distill at different time, you might have different chemical components in it. So the length of it. So do you see how intriguing quality question is? How do I even begin to answer it? And everybody expects just one sentence, which are the best oils? Well, it's a bit more complex than that. So let's say we go through all of this and now it's coming out here of the condenser. So you had a beautiful ecological plant material, everything's wonderful here, the condensing is just right, and then you don't have the, this is the moment where hygiene is very important, and this is the moment that if you don't have the right equipment, you can really quickly mess up the hydrolat, especially, So this is where you have to be very careful, especially if you do it at home, to your hygiene, that everything's sterilized, and that it's as close as possible, that you do the separation also well, because if it floats on water, again, it changes the molecules. So there's so many little details that are important here. And when you do all that right, whatever right is, then it's about storage, So you can have a beautiful essential oil, but if it's not stored right, or if it was out on the sun before you bought it, it's finished again. And so just to add to the complexity of it, what kind of still is it? also brings to the question of quality and what will be on the other side. There's a glass still, for example, that's often used in laboratory. Why? Because the reaction is the least, you know. Then you have copper that reacts the most and changes possibly the molecules. And then the one that is most frequently used is stainless steel distiller. So you have many options here of what you're going to use. So now that I had this very big introduction to quality, and I hope it hits some light bulbs, let me say something about the top 3 myths I get asked for about the quality. So a lot of people ask me, well, is that essential oil 100% natural? So let's go back to the first slide. Of course, it is from natural raw material of plant origin. If it has a title, essential oil, it should be, by definition, obtained from natural raw material of plant origin. We don't distill shoes, you know. But do not forget again that it is the origin. So don't forget, when you buy essential oils, it did go through this process, and it is quite different from the material that was put in there in the first place. So it is a process. So the second question I really get often is it chemical free? So now I would like to ask for you, and take a second and be honest. Do you think essential oils are chemical free? So it's actually quite it's a joke if you understand it, because I've been talking about chemical components this whole time. So essential oils are 100% chemicals. So when somebody says chemical free, I'm guessing they're wondering if there is synthetics added to it. So if something is an essential oil, by definition, it should not have anything added to it, including synthetic molecules. But this is something very cool that you should know, especially if you're doing your own products. Do not put 100% chemical free on them, because if a scientist comes and he sees that, they'll just laugh at you. I had this happen to a friend of mine. Actually, it's not pretty. So no, essential oils are not 100% chemical free. They are 100% chemicals. So I'm hoping some of you are laughing there with me. And essentially, we all do know this information. It's just that we are so used to this term, chemical free. We don't think about that everything around us is actually composed of chemical components, you know. So just about your terminology, I would like to give you some tools where you can sound smart, maybe. And what is the best essential oil? And this one is, you can imagine, my favorite question. And I would like to ask you back. Do you think now, after this introduction, that qualities can be quite subjective? I think so. The best essential oil is the one that's best for you. I have been very lucky to be able to work with a lot of professionals in different areas. Like if you ask a person who is using essential oils in cosmetics, their priorities are very different for somebody who's working in food and flavor industry. You know, so I would say that quality is subjective. And also, if you ask, let me go back to this slide. If you ask a scientist or somebody who is a pharmacist, what is quality for them? Well, they will look at the chemical components within a certain essential oil, and that will then resonate what quality is for them. And the difference of the chemical components, as you see, is depending on so many factors, including not only how long you distill, when you distill, the time of year, but also what time of the day do you distill. Did you distill after rain? It's very different. If you distill a lavender before it blooms or after it blooms, the composition is very different. So for a lot of my friends who work in a pharmacy, for example, that is their standard. That is what they feel is quality. Whereas my colleagues who work in perfumery, they want a certain smell, and that's the best quality for them. And then in very big contrast to my friends who work in holistic aromatherapy, they have a completely different definition of quality, what that is for them when they use it on their patients. So I hope this was useful for you. I hope it brought some new perspective on what quality is. I hope it also helped you ask questions, because you can get more answers, especially about brands. I get a lot of questions about which brand is the best. And it is so hard for me because I know a lot of these people personally, and every one of them is so proud of what they're doing. They're putting their heart into them and they're doing the best they can. But all I can tell you that if you, for example, look at an essential oil, the more information you have, the more power you have about it. And you can ask these people or these companies to give you the batch number, the GCMS report, which is right here, the origin, the extraction method, because things can be extracted differently or they can be extracted from different parts of the plant. And this all then affects your choice, which essential oil is best for you. And that's what I think quality should be. What is best for you? You decide what is your choice in quality. So I hope this part of the lesson was useful for you, and we move to the next one. And my next question for you is why science and tradition don't match, and does it really matter? This is a big inspiration for me. This is something I devoted a lot of years to teach and share, and try to to build a bridge between this gap. I don't know if you noticed, but I feel there is a huge gap between what science is researching and what people are using in their daily lives or for their clinical care, and then, as I said, in cosmetics, and all these different different parts of aromatherapy. So let me show you what I mean. So why science and tradition don't match, and does it really matter? And here I will concentrate more on science and experience. So when we look at scientific studies of that are available for essential oils, they're often limited to just some properties. We will often find that essential oils have been researched for antimicrobial effects, for anti-inflammatory effect, antioxidant, and that's pretty much what you will get about essential oils. You have exceptions, of course. But then if you want to look further, and here I put frankincense as an example, I want to come back to it. You might want to use some essential oils for effects on the emotions or on the entire being. And so you might get some scientific research on, for example, antidepressant effects, sedative action, anxiolytic, but that's pretty much where it ends. And another thing we need to be careful about when we look at these scientific studies, a lot of them are not done on humans. So how much of that can we apply on us? It's something that I am struggling with and trying to bring to a new level with Dropsmith. So we do need to look at experience. I think experience has a lot of value that we can all benefit from. And where do we find this experience? You have the traditional use in aromatherapy, but you also have a traditional use in other practices that have perhaps even larger tradition, like Ayurveda, like Chinese medicine, herbalism. So we can look how essential oils were used in those alternative practices. Then what I love to do is actually look at case studies and anecdotes. They might be just a fluke, like some people say, but if somebody has been practicing this over and over again, and it has very deep value. So I like to read case studies as well, and you will find a lot of them in aromatic journals, aromatherapy journals. You have several in this world that you can subscribe to, and I recommend them. And we do quote them in Dropsmith. So let me show you here. For example, we have frankincense, and it has quite some research done, and it might be useful if you want to use it for, antibacterial purpose. You can even find which exact bacteria it has been shown to be active on, which is quite useful. But me personally, when I think of frankincense, it's not that I'm going to use it on a bacterial infection. It's not the first thing that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is its wonderful effect on skin repair, its wonderful effect on the respiratory system, even for immune system. And frankincense has been traditionally used in spiritual support and in different traditions. So this is what I think about when I use frankincense. And unfortunately, we don't have research on that. But as I said, then you should have as much information as possible to make the best choice for you. This is what I am aiming at. Okay, so let's see what else I wanted to show you. I remember. So when you look at essential oil, you will usually find something. Let me just move you guys here. Something like cypress. So you will not have a lot of information about, and you will have some testing and scientific references on how to use it, but you will have far more information on how to use it traditionally, or experience how people use it. You have from different authors and different aromatherapists how they used it. But then again, you also have oils such as this one. Look, turmeric, for example, which has been started to be more popular in aromatherapy, but we still do not have reputable, information, or it's not written in books that we can quote. We have some information on how to use it, but we actually have far more scientific references. Isn't that amazing that we actually have more scientific references on this essential oil than we do uses? I'd like to see both though. And something I'd like to show you is, for example, have you ever heard of or smelled garlic? So let me show you this. Tons of information on scientific references on garlic essential oil, but practical, I don't think so. Who's going to use this in aromatherapy? It smells horrible. I mean, you can't even get near the bottle. So this is my mission in Dropsmith. It's about trying to bring these two worlds together, actually combining all of these worlds I got a chance to work in together, and bringing you as much information as possible. So let me go back to my slide. I have some notes here so I don't forget to tell you everything. So a lot of times why science and tradition also don't match and come together is because there's some confusions with common names, Latin names, chemotypes. These are all things that we use in aromatherapy or in scientific world, and sometimes they don't come together. So if you read some blog, for example, about essential oils, and it might be something like, I like to use juniper for helping with cellulite. But if you write juniperus, which is a juniper in general, you will see that there are lots of species of juniper. So we need to be very clear on what we are using. And so Juniperus commun is the one that we all probably think of when we're talking about juniper. We have enough references on it and stuff. But if you look at California juniper, for example, I'm going to show you because it's really cool. This is a rare one, and you might want to use oil that is local, or it's rare, or you just want to experiment because there are all these very cool new oils coming. And we didn't find a lot of things on it. See, we just found 2 references, not much to do. So what do you do with this beautiful oil? I know Claire, for example, personally, she's a wonderful distiller, distilling local rare oils, but what can she then offer to her clients? What can she say? What is this using for? And then you can look at chemical components. And this one's very simple because if you look at the GCMS report, if you look at the chemical-free part of essential oils, so you will see that this one is made mostly of alpha pinene. It's over 80%. And for alpha pinene, we have tons, sorry, the wrong one, tons of information here. Now let's just make it a bit bigger. So tons of information about alpha pinene. And this is at over 80% of this particular essential oil. So we have so much more rationale why you would use it, so much more ideas. You would feel like more comfortable and more confident on how to use this essential oil. And not only that, but I took it a step further in Dropsmith, and then we calculate. So this is something I wanted for myself for years, to calculate these properties of chemical components within essential oils, so I get a broader view of what they're for. So Claire can now say that her essential oils have very good rationale for why they're antibacterial, because over 96% of the chemical components in this essential oils have been proven to have antibacterial effect. Okay, that one we knew from here, and antifungal, but also anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, analgesic, antiviral, repellent. So already here she can use it for pain, for inflammation, for repelling, and you can see exactly what is it done on. It's not the same if it repels mosquitoes or mites, you know. So you can get that specific by knowing knowing your data. So this, I think, it's the power that you can have with more information. But you might say, okay, California juniper, it's just one major component, so it's easy. So let me show you another one, because this goes, again, coming back to the confusion of the species. If we look at salvia, so sage is another one. And here you really need to be careful, because clary sage is wildly different from sage, salvia officinalis, and fragrant sage. And they all have different, very different safety, because safety is, again, connected to the chemical components. So this is why I emphasize so much that we look at the chemical components, because we can gain so much from them. And I will tell you about my experience with that later. So clary sage and these sages we are familiar with, so you will find both a lot of research and how to use them. But look at this white sage again. It's something I never heard of before. And there is absolutely no properties that we found scientifically research on this essential oil. No application that we found in any journals or books yet that we feel comfortable quoting. And safety is, as I said, directly related to the content, 1,8-enol content in this essential oil, so that we will know, okay, this essential oil is rich in 1,8-enol, and I will definitely not use it for little kids because of the safety recommendations. So if we look at the chemical composition, there is 1,8-enol at high percentage, but there's so much more. This one is more complex. And although there's a lot of monoterpenes, it's not so singular. So again, this calculation comes in handy, and look, it still calculates quite well. So compared to nothing that you will know how to recommend this or use this or sell this, to look, 95% of chemical components are anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antioxidant, antifungal, antiseptic. So a lot more to work with. And it's just a little twist on thinking. It's going, the step further, not fearing these chemical components, but seeing what power they will offer to you, how much more value they can bring to your work and credibility, and easier to sell your oils if you're selling essential oils. So I hope this segment was useful for you. I hope that this also brought some new thinking. And so we'll go to the next one. And that one is a skill every aromatherapist should have, and why. So that's a catchy title, I admit, but it's something that I have been preparing you with these other videos to show you the possibilities that you can actually have. And the more information you have, the more power you have, the more options you have, the more credibility you have, more confidence. And ultimately, with this knowledge that you have, you can express yourself better. You can be more creative. You can be more unique. It's a certain kind of freedom, I would like to think. And so let's look at what I prepared here. And I'm just preparing my notes as well, so that I don't forget something. So I would like to share with you a holistic and sophisticated outlook on essential oils. I would like to bring these things together So just because you're doing something professionally and you know, at a certain level, it does not mean that it excludes holistic. I would like to bring it together. And I was very lucky to be able to work in very different industries with professionals that have very different points of view. So I got to talk to people in perfumery, in cosmetics, in food and flavor industry, in wellness. I worked a lot of people with people in medical professionals, pharmacists, doctors, nurses, and then you have people who work with essential oils in aromatherapy, in alternative therapies, and massages, people who distill. And you can imagine how diverse their viewpoints of essential oils are. They're sometimes, they use different vocabularies, literally. They might speak the same language, but actually they're not. They like don't come together at all sometimes. So I had the privilege of putting them together. For example, taking taking distillers and connecting them to scientists so that their stuff can get analyzed. And then I would connect scientists to people who had hands-on experience. And it's a lovely, lovely thing I get to do. And this is what I would like to share with you. So that's where my idea comes from. It's coming from instead of having all these different kinds of information and experiences and opinions, I'd like to bring them together so that we can all have value from them. And so if you're choosing essential oils, there's also very different reasons why you would choose essential oils. You might choose it because it just smells so divine, you can't help yourself, you need to have that oil. You can choose it because it has such great scientific research that you are sure that it will work for whatever it is that you need. It can be some traditional use. Maybe you are into Ayurveda and this oil has been doing good for doshas or whatever it is that you're working with. It might be that you want to support local essential oils, so you want to work with those local essential oils, but sometimes you just don't have the research on it or things. Or it's a marketing strategy. So you might be having your products and you want to separate yourself from, the market. So you need, you want to use oils that are unique, that are not so popular, like lavender or lemon. Everybody knows what that is for. So you want to use something that you feel is special. And so the moments that we come to these blockages on our path are usually that scientifically proven properties of essential oils are limited, if done at all. For example, if you have this new oil that you're distilling, you might have none at all, or are very limited with the opportunities of information. So what you can do is look at the dominant components in your essential oil and see if that gives you some new ideas. And you will see, the more you look at the chemical components and the GCMS of your essential oils, you will see that a lot of them repeat themselves. Sometimes you have some very special, rare chemical component that's just for, I don't know, patchouli and patchoulol, for example. But a lot of times you will see alpha and beta pinene, limonan, 1,8-cineol, linalool. These come in almost every single essential oil that we come across. So it's good to get familiar with them and what does that bring to the dynamics of your essential oil and your blend. And also, safety, as we know, is based on chemical components within the essential oils. So it's good that you pay attention to that. So let me get more practical now that I had that introduction. So first, I would like to show you, as I said, that you might want to be unique. So let's say you want to use magnolia. So this is a lovely essential oil, and you might be very unique using this in your product, or you just love the smell. But if you take a closer look, like the first thing I do is I look at the chemical components. And look here, we have found zero scientific references on this essential oil. Some application safety, that's really good. So it's quite safe to use. And why? If you look at the chemical components, you might stop here. Linalool, look, it has over 70% of linalool, which is a very, very, very common chemical component. You will find it in geranium, in rose, in whole wood. So you will have, let me just put this back down. You will have so much more confidence and information to work with if you want to use this in your product or if you are selling it, because it has such predictive chemical components. You would think magnolia would be more unique, and it is. Every essential oil is unique, but in the ratio, in the beauty is in the ratio of the components. So look, this, we are going from magnolia leaf having no properties and having no idea practically what to use it for, to see over 90% of chemical components that are antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, antifungal, analgesic. So a lot more sedative, a lot more ideas of how to use this beautiful oil that might be new on the market or rare, not so common to use. So this is what I wanted to show, because it's a great discovery with magnolia oil. I had a chance to use it, so I wanted to share it with you. But let's get more practical. So let's say you want to do something in skincare. And so in Dropsmith, you can just write in the search skincare or antibacterial or respiratory or whatever it is that you're searching for if you're not familiar with Dropsmith yet. So today we're looking at skincare because it's a popular topic. It's a lot of my students are having their own products. So skincare is it's quite a popular topic. And here I will choose 4 different ones. So when I would like to choose something for skincare, let me compare geranium, lavender, grapefruit, for example, and melissa. So I chose 4 different oils just to see why they're recommended for skincare. So let's compare them. So right away, you will see that they, although geranium and lavender do share some interesting components, they are quite different. And I will use a Command F and search for skin, so that I will skip. Here you have everything compared, so everything about these, but I am not interested in scientific properties at the moment. I am interested in practical application. So geranium, all skin types. It's recommended allergic skin reactions. So far, so good. And then let's see what else. Clogged skin, geranium is winning at the moment. Combination skin. Let's see what, damaged skin. Okay, dry skin. So here now we have more inflamed skin with lavender, and then you can click and see who recommended it and why. Irritated skin, mature skin, that might be something interesting. So let's say we want to make something for mature skin. So then I would look at lavender and grapefruit and see what's more interesting for me. So here I see that with grapefruit, we actually have research on it. So that's nice to remember. We all like to have more beautiful skin. So if we scroll down, I want to show you to sensitivity. Here we go. Skincare. So this is what we originally searched for, skincare. And as you can see, all 4 essential oils have been recommended for skincare by different authors. So this is what I want. I want diversity. So it's not just one person saying it. The more people say, I think kind of has interesting point of view. So grapefruit, let's keep this one in mind because it's the only one I found that has some scientific references on it as well. And grapefruit is a citrus, and this is often we use in products. So now we're thinking that we're creating a product. We'd like to use citrus because it's something that everybody likes. And we also have some scientific data that will back our choice. Before we go and look at grapefruit, I'd like to show you then also what I love to do is compare safety. So here it might be very quick to see that, okay, melissa, not only is it expensive, it is quite tricky to use because of all the things I need to be thinking about. And grapefruit, as I will choose it now, has, we have to be careful with phototoxicity, but only over 4%, which I will not use anyway. So it's fine. So this is something I use often to compare oils that I'm looking for and then make some quick choices, or when I'm showing it to a client or whatever. So let me show you grapefruit. So then when I chose grapefruit because it's something that citruses are often in cosmetics, so I want to be just like everybody else. And I look at, okay, properties, very well done. I have the safety recommendations here because I need to back up why I chose this. If I look at, I have enough, it will work on oily skin, it's in skincare, mature skin, so far so good, even for acne. So it might not be something for dry skin, but if I look at the chemistry, so this is what I want to show you. If I look at the chemistry, your grapefruit is very, very singular. You will see that it's almost 95% of limonene. So why is that relevant for you? Now that I discovered that this oil has, research on having good effect on wrinkles and aging, and it's made pretty much of 90% of linalool, limonene, I would like to see what other essential oils are rich in limonene, because it brings me all of these wonderful properties as well. And let me tell you a secret, limonene has research on wound healing, which makes sense if it's grapefruit is good for, skincare and for wrinkles. It makes sense that it's helpful for wound healing as well. It is also penetration enhancer. So for example, for lemon, I think you have research as the essential oil to be penetration enhancer, but see here for grapefruit, you don't. But it's pretty reasonable to think that if 95% of it is limonene, which is a penetration enhancer, that grapefruit is also. So just to show you some of these great properties that limonene gives you, and it's quite a frequent chemical component, and let me show you how you can find more about it, because there's many secret tools you can use here. And so if you go to advanced filter, you can now search for limonene. And I can search for essential oils that have over 50%, for example. And if you look at it, you can see that now we have so much more options. All of these essential oils, let me show you more items. All of these have over 50% of limonene, and that's quite a number. So, okay, we expected lemon and mandarin to have it, but not syrup or needle, for example, or a Palo Santo. I didn't think they would have such a large percentage of limonene. Celery seed, for example. I didn't even know that I had that in the database. So a lot more ideas what to do with these oils. So now that I want to be different and I want to make, for example, I want to use an oil that is local or exotic, I might choose yuzu, which is a citrus that is native in Japan. So maybe you're from Japan or you want to be exotic and you want something from Japan. And it's a beautiful citrus, but it's a little bit different than we're all used to. And we don't have that much information on it because it's just not something that people quote in books or use in typical recipes. But if you look at it again, the chemical composition, you will see that it's quite simple again, or chemical components that come up frequently. So we have tons of information here, including limonene, and see at a high percentage. So this would give me a rationale again, if I look here and I have the wound healing and all these wonderful things I can use on skin. I have the rationale why I chose that essential oil, that I need to sell this oil, to show it to my superiors. You really always need to have really good rationale, and the more you know, the more you will have it. So that, I think, is a skill that every aromatherapist should have, It's the skill of going beyond your fears of chemical components and looking what they can actually do for you, which value can they bring to your essential oils and then to your blend. Because I'm just showing you what you can do with a single essential oil. Imagine what you can do with a blend. But first we need to know what's in a one and then go from there. So when you look at properties of chemical components, look at, what new potential do they reveal about your essential oil or your blend? Are there properties in synergy or contradictory? So you might have an essential oil that has at the same, or your blend, you might have something like linalool that's a sedative and 1,8-cineol that's supposed to, bring you refreshment and focus. So do those really go together? Should you blend them together? So these are the things that will then give you more information on that. What ratio and what dynamics can that possibly bring to your synergy? So I might not use just this essential oil. This might be my marketing, and I will have this whole marketing around yuzu and how it's from Japan and how it's unique. But I might actually blend it with geranium, because as we saw in the comparison tool, geranium has wonderful properties for all sorts of skincare. So what will be the dynamics? How much percentage of yuzu will I use with geranium? How much of that do I want in there to, for example, bring in the penetration enhancing to the equation? It's wonderful because you can calculate everything and predict it quite well. So also one thing that I will not be talking about, but it's interesting to know that chemical components greatly influence the odor of your essential oil, the odor intensity, the note. And so also by looking at the chemistry of your essential oil, you can then balance and monitor and predict these things. So I hope this part of the lesson was useful as well, and that you will use it in practice. Next, why you should stop choosing your essential oils the old-fashioned way. So I wrote this very bold explanation below here, and I really do believe that by knowing more and by looking at everything that's available at this time, the scientific research of the essential oil, the components, and the case studies, and just bringing together all areas of essential oils together, that it will bring us, more confidence. We will be more efficient. We can be more creative. We can be more authentic. And actually, it will save you time, money, and environment. And why environment? Because the more you know about your essential oils, the less you need them. So you can use just the amount that you actually need without wasting it, without wasting any of these things. And so what can I show you that that is not the old-fashioned way? And so one thing that my students found fun is reconstructing essential oils. So I already reconstructed quite a few. So I decided to do Fragonia today for you, because it is a rare oil and you might think it's very unique and special, and it is, but its chemistry is quite predictive actually. So let me show you that. So I will search for Fragonia. Isn't that so lovely? You just type it in, it's right there. And here's our Fragonia. And we actually, because it's quite rare and unique and beautiful. Have you ever smelled Fragonia? It's really beautiful. There's not much written about it, not at least things that we feel comfortable quoting. But if you look at the chemistry, it has a lot of chemical components that are frequent in many essential oils. Look here, alpha-pinene, limonene, sound familiar, beta-pinene, myrcene, linalool. It's cineol. It's very, very predictive. So let me show you here on my slide, I put down the main constituents that we're going to look at. So alpha pinene, limonene, linalool, alpha terpinol, terpenforol, 1,8-cineol. So these are the ones that we can look for to make a blend that will be similar to Fregonia in its chemistry. I'm not saying smell, I'm saying in its chemistry. So let's say you need this oil for whatever it is that you want to treat, or but you want to use it with some oils that you have at home or that are cheaper or just available. So here are some essential oils that are wrote down to consider, and you can go and check them out yourself. How much of what do they have? So first I will start with this one, because these are more rare components. So alpha pinene, linalool, these are, and 1,8-cineol, these are quite frequent, but these ones are more rare. So let me come to the catalog and filter again. And I will filter alpha terpinol. Here we go. And I will look for everything that has more than 2%. Because if you look here, it's not that big of a percentage. So here we go. It's quite a lot of oils, actually, that have a tea tree that's quite predictable. So let's choose some. Let me look at more items. So let's see, what are we gonna choose? I'm going to choose tea tree, because that you probably have at home. And then see Fregonia, but we are constructing that one, so we can't use it. I'll use this one because it's quite affordable and it has some great components. So that's enough for covering the alcohols here. And 1,8-cineol, I would think. So then I will not filter everything, although I can show you. If we filter something for linalool, and I want something that has more than 60%, we have plenty of choices. Well enough. So I will use whole wood because it is ecologically friendly. So we will choose that one for our blend. And then we will need something with alpha pinene. And I need more than 50% again. And see, like I said, frankincense is an interesting choice. You wouldn't think so, because you think it would be more complex, but it's a lot of alpha pinene actually. So let's use frankincense then. Add to blend here. So let's see if that's enough. And what I love about this is that you already see the colors that represent the chemical components. So if I look at my Fregonia here, it's kind of a third of each. So I would like to add a little bit more of 1,8-cineol that's still here. And so I will add eucalyptus. And what you should do now is ask me which one. Because there's tons of them and they can be very different. So I would like to use Eucalyptus globulus because that one has a lot of 1,8-cineol and some of the lovely pinenes that we're looking for. So let's call this our big Fregonia. And this is a quick one, so I'm doing this very quickly. And description will be fun on Saturday. And you can be very specific, so you can try drops, but here, as I want to be more specific, I will use percentages. So how would I actually have this prepared, so I will just write it for you and you can copy it if you want. How would this one is 30. And then we have tea tree, 25. It can get better than this, but this is just a quick one I prepared for you. Frankincense, 25, and eucalyptus, 10. Okay, so I think it could be better, but this is what I managed to prepare quickly for you. So let's take a look. So here we have my fig fregonia, made with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oils. You can do less or more if you have time to have fun. I encourage you to try and do it yourself. So let's look at the chemical components here. So alpha pinene 16, I think we're quite well here. And then we look at what else is better. Alpha pinene limonene, okay. Alpha pinene and limonene, maybe we could do it better, but quite close. And then with alcohol, we wanted alpha terpenol and terpenforol. Here you go. And that linalool content as well. Here you go. And 1,8-cineol. There you go. 1,8-cineol. Isn't that so much fun? Don't you think it's so much more fun to use it this way than the old-fashioned way? So my point with this this segment here is, you know, if I go back to the title, why you should stop choosing your essential oils the old-fashioned way. It's fine. You should use the oils the best way you can. I just want to open up some new ideas for you. You know, the more you know, the more you play with it, the more confidence you will have, the more ideas you will have, the more fun you will have, you know. And sometimes we just need to work with what we have at home. I think it's really, it's our duty for the environment to be more eco-friendly, or you want to use the oils that you have locally. So you need to be able to get more creative. And actually knowing chemistry can help you be more creative. Can you believe that? You would think that being creative is having fun with smell. Well, it is, but also understanding this chemistry will bring you more creativity. So let me conclude this with what I could have would have done differently if I could start my aromatherapy journey over. So I will be quick. First of all, I would have questioned everything I was taught from the start. So please question everything I just said today. And go ahead and test it yourself and click and get new information and get informed. Because at the beginning of my journey, I just believed everything I read, or that I paid for this information, so I'm expecting it to be correct. Anybody feeling that with me? So it's not even that maybe this information was not available at the time the book was written, or this person who's lecturing just didn't come across that information. Especially today, there's so much new evidence coming in every day, you just cannot follow, you know. So please question everything. And then once I did started questioning, what happened was, I just found that so many things were wrong. Not even, you know, a misunderstanding, but completely wrong. And that's again because maybe these people just didn't have that information at the time, or they just copy pasted the wrong sentence. So it happens. It happens, like, you know, yeah, it happens a lot, unfortunately. So that brings me to my second point, and that is I would have paid much more attention to references. And I started paying more attention to references when I started teaching pharmacists, because you have to reference everything like a million times. So, but then I realized the importance of references, that you really need to know who said this and why, and how did I come across this information that might or might not be useful for me, especially if I'm going to put this on my child, on my client. I really need to know why they're recommending it. So another thing I would have done from the start was to, you know, have searched for genuine, authentic authors. So what I do now and last years, I go to conferences, I meet these people. It's so lovely because you really get to meet these authors and to see what they're doing. And if they resonate with you, you know, they might have great information. It just does not resonate with you. That is also possible. Or you see, oh my God, they're doing such lovely things. I had no idea that they wrote 5 more books or all these articles and things they're doing. So this is something I would suggest also, to find where your information is coming from. It's really crucial for your work, because you will just know how to use the information better. Also, I would have spent more time examining their experience. So there are so many lovely information in aromatherapy journals that we quote as well, personal experiences and anecdotes and case studies. There's so much valuable information there. So that's something I would have looked at more. And another secret I want to share with you is what I do is when I go through these journals is that I put their recipes in Dropsmith, and I keep it in my dashboard, and then I go and see why their recipes worked. And then you can see very clearly how wonderful this chemistry aligned. And then, can I make it better? Do I really need all these oils? Can I add another one? So I do encourage you to try and do that with your old recipes, or the ones that you read in journals or books or blogs, wherever you find them. Put them in Dropsmith and then see if they make sense or they make more sense. Which brings me to my last point, is that I would have saved myself lots of money and time by investing more of learning in understanding in the power of GCMS, so into those chemical components. I was actually thrown into chemistry because I was asked to teach pharmacists, and I was very self-conscious about it, so I started manically studying chemistry. It wasn't really a choice. It was, I didn't want to disappoint them. But then a whole world opened up, because I was avoiding this subject. It's too hard or whatever. It's not. Believe me, it's not. You just have to go and start. And once you understand the dynamics in the essential oils, it just brings so much more to the magic of nature. It will just confirm it. It's beautiful. So these are the lessons I hope will help you, save you maybe some time and money as well. And I would like to conclude with, again, this sentence: upgrade your perspective and save time, money, and environment. So your perspective, keep upgrading it, keep asking questions. And that will surely give you more confidence. You will be more efficient and you'll be more authentic. You'll be more free to express yourself. I think education is the key. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, if you need any support, write to our support. We'll get back to you. You can follow us on best Facebook. We are on Instagram. We're not very active on social media. But if we have any new things that we share, we put it there. The best thing to do is to come to our mailing list, where Leandro is very active and telling you about all our new things and offers, and my blog posts that I write, and do new videos. So thank you all. Have a lovely weekend.